Well, good morning and welcome to all. I just want to make you aware that council meetings are available live through Zoom, and recordings may be posted online on County of Huron's YouTube channel. You may be seen and or heard as part of these broadcasts, and your name, comments, and or presentation materials will become part of the public record. And I'd like to call this meeting to order and just want to recognize the full gallery. It's good to see each one here, and especially two little ones. Get them trained young to enjoy politics, and just good to see everybody here. So welcome to all. Before we begin today's meeting, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge several important recognition weeks that take place during the month of May. And in this month, we mark National Nursing Week, which was May 12th to the 15th. Personal Support Worker Day, which was on May 19th. May 18th to 24th is the National Public Works Week, and Paramedic Services Week, also May the 18th to 24th. These weeks provide an opportunity to recognize the vital work of our frontline staff and the many support staff behind the scenes who contribute every day to the health, safety, and well-being of our communities. On behalf of Council, I want to express our deep gratitude for the dedication, the professionalism, and the care shown by these teams. And May is a fitting time to say thank you for all of you that do that, and we appreciate it, so thank you. We're going to move on to the approval of the agenda, and I'd be looking for a mover and a seconder to do that. So Councillor Finch, Councillor McClellan would second that. Those in favor? That is carried. Is there any pecuniary interest that anybody needs to declare at this time? Councillor Noel.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'd like to declare an interest in agenda item 11.4, the recommendation to award RFP HCPW 25-506. The nature of my interest is my daughter is employed by BM Ross and Associates Limited. Thank you.
Duly noted. Thank you. Any other conflict that needs to be declared? Seeing none, I'm going to go on to the minutes, and if there's any errors or omissions to address, we can do that. And if not, I'd be looking for a mover and a seconder to adopt. So Councillor Basnet and Councillor Harding would second that. Those in favor? That is carried. So we're at delegations and presentations, and we have some paramedic awards. And on the occasion of the Paramedic Services Week recognized, we're going to present some following awards, and I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Horseman. So Jeff, welcome, and let you take it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Good morning, everyone. We have a couple different awards to award today to some of our paramedic frontline staff and our superintendents. So we're going to do it in two groups. I'm going to go through the Newborn Delivery Award first. We'll call everybody up that's involved in that. We'll take some pictures and give them the awards, and then we'll do the second award after that. So this award was presented to paramedics Brennan Rogers, David Kennedy, Kelsey Long, and James Hickling. Just a little bit, this is a Newborn Delivery Award, so assisting in out-of-hospital delivery of newborn babies. It's not often that our paramedics get the joy of being involved in something that's happy as opposed to the other side of the spectrum that we often deal with. So on December 15th of 2024 at approximately 2:30 in the morning, a call came in to attend a residence in ACW for a patient in labor with twins. Weather conditions were not the best, taking our crews 24 minutes for the first crew to arrive on scene. Paramedic Rogers was the first attending paramedic to arrive with his partner, paramedic David Kennedy. Mom had already delivered baby number 1 at approximately 2:10 prior to the paramedics even being dispatched. But paramedic Rogers found baby number 1 in the arms of a neighbor who was keeping the baby warm. The umbilical cord was still attached. Rogers clamped and cut the cord and continued to care for the baby. Baby 1 was then transported with a crew from a vehicle that arrived from Bruce County. And paramedic Rogers and Kennedy turned their attention to mom and baby number 2 that was still yet to be delivered. Rogers and Kennedy prepared mom for transport to hospital. Paramedics Long and Hickling arrived on scene. Paramedic Long jumped into the transporting ambulance with Rogers and en route to the hospital in case mom delivered en route. Baby 2 was delivered just after arrival at the hospital. So on behalf of County Council, I'd like to present paramedics Brendan Rogers, David Kennedy, Kelsey Long, and James Hickling with the newborn delivery certificate and their stork pin for their excellent care and compassion given to mom and babies during this unexpected out-of-hospital delivery. If those 4 paramedics could come forward, please. And can I have the warden and Megan? So the next award is the EMS Exemplary Service Award. Huron County paramedics Jane Seafree and Zia Kogiani were recognized with the EMS Exemplary Service Medal for their work and dedication to the community and years of service within the pre-hospital care industry at the Ontario Association Paramedic Chiefs Award Gala held in Blue Mountain on October 3rd, 2024. The Emergency Medical Services Exemplary Service Medal was created in 1994 by the late Governor General Romeo LeBlanc as a component of the Canadian Honor System. The award is presented to paramedics who have served at least 20 years in a meritorious manner, characterized by the highest standards of good conduct, industry, and efficiency. To qualify, at least 10 of these years of service must be at street level or in the air, duty involving potential risk to the individuals. Nominees must have been employees on or after October 31st of 1991, but may be now active, retired, or deceased. The exemplary service medal recognizes persons in high-risk professions who dedicate themselves to preserving Canada's public safety through a combination of dedicated service and exemplary service to both the industry and to their community. In addition to these 2 paramedics, on Wednesday, November 20th, Deputy Chief Campbell was in attendance at Queen's Park when Superintendent Brad Waters and Superintendent Steve Robinson received their first bar for an additional 10 years of exemplary service. We are indeed fortunate to have these exceptional paramedics who are not only clinically skilled, but also exhibit compassion, community service, leadership, and volunteerism. They have my congratulations and gratitude on behalf of County Council and the citizens of Huron County. Congratulations and thank you for all your dedication towards serving your community in such an exemplary manner. If I could have those 4 paramedics please come forward. And the last thing that I would like to bring to everybody's attention today, Huron County is actually celebrating today as our Paramedic Appreciation Day for our entire staff. I invite County Council and senior management to come to our paramedic luncheon after council today. Will be held at our Clinton Paramedic Base or the Huron Central Huron Fire Hall. We have a special guest appearance from Wicked Witches of West Street food truck will be there to help feed our individuals, our paramedics, and it is open to the public as well. It is an open house, so you'll be able to see the vehicles and wander through the station if you wish. So I invite everybody after council. I did leave you a certificate on your desk, but if you haven't gotten one, just let me know. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. And certainly want to thank our paramedics and for all your efforts, for the work that you do. And we certainly appreciate it very much and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We're at the point in our agenda where we are looking for councillor comments, if there is any. Past Warden McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Just a comment about the fact that every month in the Public Works, it talks about the fact that we're still in negotiations about the property for just west of Exeter, where the roundabout is proposed. And since it still says we're in negotiations, I'm wondering if County Council could get an update of what's actually happening with those negotiations, and also it can be during closed session. Since it's a purchase at a future meeting, but in case there's a need for County Council to assist in the direction of moving it forward. Thank you.
All right, we'll have an update at our next closed session for that. Okay, anything else for councillor comments? All right, then we will go on to our consent agenda. If there's any specific item anybody wants to pull from that agenda, this is your opportunity. And if not, I'd be looking for a motion then to accept our consent agenda. And that motion is made by Councillor Becker, seconded by Councillor Heffer. Those in favor? That is carried. Social and Property Services. We have a homelessness services financials presentation, and Barbara is here to speak to this report. Barbara, when you're ready.
Thank you, Warden Heffer, and through you to members of council. At the March 24th and March 25th, 2025 County Council meetings, housing and homelessness were identified as priority issues by council. Further, at the April 23rd, 2025 County Council meeting, a motion was made by council for an overview of the financial costs of the homelessness services, including levy costs. The Homelessness Services financial spreadsheet attached to today's report identifies the operational expenses and revenue for the suite of homelessness programs and services that the county provides. And the report also identifies the operating costs for the Gibbons Street apartment building that the county will operate and maintain. So we're screen sharing the spreadsheet as the formatting in the report that you have didn't quite carry over correctly. It's taking some of the other funding and levy and it put it below and it took it out. So it was difficult to read. So we're screen sharing it today for your reference. So within the attached financial spreadsheet, the expenses less the revenue identifies a levy requirement of $545,818 for the homelessness services and programs in the 2025 year. All numbers in the report can be found in the 2025 county budget. Please note that this amount of $545,818 does not include the operational costs for Gibbons Street. So you can see there in the bottom right on square, it says levy requirement, $545,000. We have expenses listed. We have provincial funding. So that's from our homelessness prevention program. Actually, Lubitsa, if you can just scroll back up. Yeah, thank you. Other funding, $50,000 comes from the United Way Community Impact Fund, and the $57,449 are donations that we've received. And then it speaks to the levy requirement that we've paid $427,000 for the bridge housing program. So you'll see some provincial dollars in that and then the levy requirement. And then further down, staff salaries has provincial funding from HPP and 118,000 levy requirement as well to operate our homelessness programs. Okay, and Lisa, if you could scroll down just where it says Gibbon Street operational costs, perfect. If the same level of service is maintained for the homelessness programs moving forward, the operational cost for Gibbon Street will be in addition to the levy cost of the 545,818 that you've just seen. A levy cost is identified on this screen. You'll see in line 30, levy requirement. So with depreciation, there's a levy requirement of 509,600. And there is a levy requirement as well of 229,600 without depreciation. And the annual operating costs, Louise, if you can just scroll down a tiny bit, for the Gibbon Street are identified in there at 588,000 to operate that particular building. There was a reference made to the $1 million donation being received over 6 years from Bruce Power at a previous meeting. And to clarify that that donation of $1 million has been allocated towards the capital costs and not the operational costs. So that $1 million isn't factored into any of the costs you see today. And then finally, there was a question about the number of positions as well. So we've identified 1.5 FTE positions within our social and property services staff to bring the Gibbon Street apartment building online. There'll be additional property management required. There'll be additional maintenance services required as well. And those costs are all factored into the operating costs. So thank you for the opportunity to provide this information today. I hope it's condensed enough and into the high level overview that meets council's request from the April 23rd County Council meeting.
Thank you, Barbara. Is there any questions from council on this report? Past Warden McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. No question, but since there was some updated information, could we just get that emailed to us after the meeting, the spreadsheet? Thank you.
It wasn't the agenda, it's just the format had to change to get it on the screen properly. So, yeah,
We will email. No problem.
we'll email follow up just so you have it. Councillor Klopp.
Thank you. So just if I can, real quick, the 588,000 plus the 229,000 will be in the operating levy costs at the end of the day for going forward?
Barbara, please.
Thank you, Warden Heffern, through you. So 545,000 are the operating costs or the costs to run the programs that we're running now in our homelessness suite of programs, 545,818. When we bring Gibbon Street online with depreciation or without depreciation, those costs have been in there. So let's speak to the with depreciation because we'll know that we'll need to fund capital repairs over the years. It's $509,000 with depreciation. So to run the suite of programs we offer now, all of the prevention programs that we offer, and they're all identified in that breakdown, is $545,000. Plus we'll need money to operate the Gibbon Street for operational expenses. And so those are separated out.
I guess
Follow up.
sorry, I didn't mention Gibbons. Is Gibbon Street 588,000 on that sheet for operating plus the 229,000 excluding depreciation for Gibbon Street? Or is it going to be 509,000 for Gibbon Street, including depreciation plus the 588 for operating Gibbon Street?
Barbara, please.
We're just going to screen share that again. Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. And Louisa, if you can, so you'll see in $545,818, and that's to operate our suite of programs there. You'll see bridge housing, you'll see Huron Turning Point residents, addiction supportive housing, and so forth. That's the suite of housing programs we offer now. It has nothing to do with Gibbon Street at this moment in time. Louise, if you scroll down a little bit, please. Then we get into the Gibbon Street operational costs. So what I did is I broke out the costs with and without depreciation, just as a reference, because the depreciation increases the amount quite a bit. So Gibbon Street will either be $509,600 or $229,000. So with depreciation, it's $509,000. So you got 545 for the suite of programs we offer now and 509,600 to bring Gibbons online and to operate it.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to confirm. So it's 588,000 for Gibbons, which back in the day, the treasurer was directed to tell us it might be about $1 million to run Gibbons with operation and to run the programs. Now we're still looking for some dollars. I think it's in this report for Gibbons Street, which we hope gets. Otherwise, it will start to cost a bit more, which is fine. The building's there. We got to do it. Just want to be clear.
Okay, any other questions for Barbara? Right, if not, then I'd be looking for a motion to approve the report for information. That's past Warden McNeil, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Those in favor? That motion is carried. We're at the Early On Child and Family Center Open House, and that will be presented by Cheryl Patience, and Cheryl is available by Zoom to answer any questions anybody has regarding this report. Welcome, Cheryl. Was there anything on this report to ask Cheryl? Seeing none, I'd be looking then for a motion to receive this report. So it's Councillor Finch, Councillor Noel would second that. Those in favor, and that is carried. Thank you, Cheryl. We have a housing renewal strategy, and this is presented by Barbara Hall, and Barb is prepared to speak to this as well. Go ahead, Barb.
Thank you again, Warden Heffernan, and through you to members of council. At the March 24th and 25th, 2025 County Council meetings for strategic planning, housing and homelessness were identified as priority issues by council. Further, at this same meeting, a motion was made for the housing renewal strategy to be resubmitted to council for information. As background information, in 2021, County Council at that time directed staff to provide information perspectives on the existing community housing properties owned by the county, identify the needs of the county, and identify local initiatives that were intended to increase housing supply. Where appropriate, an examination of municipal or provincially owned properties closer adjacent to the county properties was also undertaken. To assist with this work, the Office of Tim Welch Consulting was retained to prepare a housing renewal plan, working in collaboration with county staff from the Planning Department and Social and Property Services. The scope of work included potential for replacement or renovation, surplus land for expansion or development, and/or ability to leverage the owned properties as an equity contribution for new construction. The final report was presented to council in May of 2022. A copy of the full report and also the council presentation from this May 2022 meeting are attached for reference. These are the original reports from 2022 and contain information relevant at that time. This concludes my report and appreciate the opportunity to bring this forward today.
All right, thank you, Barbara. Seeing this again coming to us, just so we're aware of this information. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to then go to approval of this report as presented for information, and that is Councillor Vanstone, seconded by Councillor Finch. Those in favor? And that is carried. Was that a question, Councillor Clark?
I was going to vote for it, but just, I guess it's been answered. Now that the motion is passed, what is the staff going to do with this report?
I believe our CAO, Megan Work, will answer that.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Warden, this is just for information purposes. There will be no further action taken on this report.
All right. Jamie Koskamp is here to present the annual housing and homelessness report for 2024. Welcome, Jamie. And when you're ready, go ahead.
Good morning, and through you, Warden Heffer. The 2024 Housing and Homelessness Annual Report and 10-year review marks a significant milestone. We are not just reviewing our progress in 2024, we are looking at a full decade of intentional strategic action on housing and homelessness in Huron County. This report also fulfills our ministry requirement to produce an annual report on housing and homelessness, ensuring transparency and accountability for the work being done under the Housing Services Act. Our timeline of achievements is impressive. From the establishment of our steering committee in 2014 to the launch of coordinated access in 2022, every year has added new systems, new partnership, and new hope. Notable developments in 2024 included the launch of our bridge housing program in partnership with CMHA, the opening of 20 affordable housing units on Sanders Street in Exeter, and the creation of a monthly share out to update community members on the current state of homelessness in Huron County. At the heart of our strategy is a coordinated access system, ensuring that people don't fall through the cracks and that resources are distributed equitably and transparently. Our case conferencing table, advisory committee, and by name list allow us to make informed decisions and prioritize households most in need. We've implemented innovative programs like the Bridge Housing and Stability Program, transitional housing on Bennett Street and Huron Turning Point residents in Exeter, and the Heart to Home Housing Stability Team offering practical hands-on support to help individuals achieve lasting independence. These programs are not just housing people, they are restoring dignity, family connections, and hope. We're nearing the completion of 40 new units on Gibbon Street and have delivered 20 on Sanders, made possible through the support of local municipal partners like the town of Goderich and South Huron, who waived fees through community improvement plans. Meanwhile, our asset management plan and preventative maintenance ensure we preserve and upgrade our existing 415 RGI and 55 affordable housing units. Data drives our system. The by name list now tracks real-time information on homelessness, and monthly shareouts allow our community to see both the challenges and the progress. From April 1st of 2024 to March 31st of 2025, we saw 161 households enter the by name list. 72 of those households were experiencing chronic homelessness. 61 households exited to housing, with 10 households returning to homelessness and 30 households losing touch. This shows us both our successes as well as the work ahead. And we are not alone in this work. From the OPP to United Way, from Huron Perth Public Health to CMHA, over 30 organizations actively shape our housing network. We've also worked with every level of government to advocate for funding and policy changes to support local solutions. We also heard powerful stories this year, like the woman who went from having nothing to being reunited with her daughter and grandchild, budgeting independently and believing in her future again. And these are the stories that remind us why this work matters. This work is not yet complete. However, we take great pride in the progress achieved to date and remain optimistic about the opportunities that lie ahead. To those who have contributed, thank you. And to those joining us, welcome. We invite everyone to be part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Is there any questions or comments from council? Past Warden McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. And I'm not sure that this is really directed at Jamie or who, or whether it's even directed at County Council. But when I read your report and it talked about, and I think it was 2 years ago, the study was done. And at that time, you said there was a minimum of 169 homeless in Huron County, if I'm remembering that correctly. My concern is that we've got technically 30 new locations to help with homeless people and some rent geared to income apartments. But what do we do with the people that are showing up now? Because as talked about in one of the previous presentations, you know, we're basically adding a fair chunk of change to the budget now to cover what we're doing. How do we deal with people that show up on our doorstep now, or what is the plan going forward?
Go ahead, Jamie.
Through you, Warden. So, Councillor McClellan, the suite of programs that Barb had spoke about this morning. So our bridge housing program, we are able to assist some of our individuals that present to us today through the bridge housing program. We have transitional housing program through Huron Turning Point residents in Exeter. We have our Bennett Street units that are owned and operated by the county. We realize that there are still going to be some individuals that aren't looking for our help at this time. You know, there's a lot of great work being done by our Heart to Home Stability team, assisting with potential diversion, staying with family. Lots of different creative options that come from our partners as well. I will leave my comments at that. I don't know if Barb wants to add anything further.
All right. Thank you, Jamie. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Past Warden McNeil.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warden. And I would like to acknowledge the hard work of all of our staff in this. And part of our responsibility as county council is to look out and care for those that are less privileged than we are and find themselves in a situation that none of us would want to be in. And I'm really proud that Huron County Council is doing something about this and addressing the situation. And we are looked upon by other counties with a lot of envy. It's easier to do nothing than to do something. And I would like to thank not only County Council for the efforts in this and all of our hardworking staff that care for those that are less privileged. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Warden.
Thank you for those comments. And on that, I'd be referring to a motion, and the motion that is in our package is to receive the report and also authorize its release. So is there anybody wanting to put that forward? That is Councillor Finch, seconded by Councillor Heffer. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you for the good work you're doing, Jamie. Under Homes for the Aged, we have a couple reports, and first is the information update regarding the water damage at Huron Lee. And Alan Hasty is here to present that report, and I'd like to introduce Alan to council. Alan comes with 25 years of facilities management and oversight within both the private and public sector. Throughout his career, Al has gained extensive operations and project management experience. Al has extensive multi-site experience relating to budget creation and prioritizing, which has already proven to be an asset when it comes to project management and strategic priorities. And we are looking forward to what lies ahead. So Alan, welcome. Okay. Was there any questions on the water damage report? Past Warden McLeod.
Could I just get a clarification on a timeline, Mr. Warden? When I was reading this, we hired a company to come and get the snow or ice off the roof. I wasn't 100% sure whether we did that after we had the damage or we asked them to do it and then we still ended up with the damage after we asked them to do it. Can you give me a clarification on that, please?
Alan, could you address that, please?
Through you, Warden. Thank you for the question. Yes, so there was some restoration, some snow removal started before the damage, but unfortunately we couldn't get it all removed in time from the valleys and around the eaves.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions on this report? So we need to receive that report. Is there a motion for that? Councillor Finch, Councillor Becker would second that. Those in favor? And that is carried. And the boiler procurement. Alan, questions for this report as well? Not seeing any questions, then I'd be looking for direction for staff here through a motion. Councillor Finch would put that forward and seconded by Past Warden McNeil. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Alan. Told you we'd be easy on you the first time. Public Works, number of tenders to address. The first is for one rubber-tired backhoe loader. And Imran is available for any questions on this. Seeing none, then put forward by Councillor Klopp, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Those in favor? That is carried. 6 pickup trucks. Again, Imran is available for questions. Councillor Harding.
I just have the question about, this is the first time I've been here for too long, and we've never had a request for 6 pickup trucks. It's always been 2 or 4. And is our fleet growing or what's going on here?
Imran, please.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Through you. No, they're just scheduled replacements. So we have a replacement cycle of 5 years. So I think that's probably 5 years ago, we purchased 6 at that time as well. And we're just replacing those ones. These are all scheduled replacements. It just depends where they end up in that cycle.
So this is just kind of a catch up. We were behind it a bit likely, were we?
Yep. Just scheduled replacement. It all depends on when we purchase those trucks initially. We got a 5-year replacement. So yeah, we're just replacing the ones that are up for replacement.
Okay, Councillor Finch.
Yeah, thank you. And great job on the report. I'm just curious, with our procurement bylaw, we only have 3 people bidding on these trucks. Is there something we can do to encourage other dealerships or companies to bid on this? I'm not sure.
I think that's a question we all face at the lower tiers as well.
That's right, exactly.
Imran, any suggestions? Maybe that's a Michael question.
Not at this time. We have our specs that we put in, and possibly we could look at changing the specs, but really they're dependent on our work operations and everything. I don't know if Mike's got a comment in terms of procurement, but we go with what we feel the county needs, and the companies that show interest are the ones that can provide the product.
Well, thank you and appreciate that because there, as you said, there's it's a problem across the board, and the more people we have bid on it, obviously the better it is. So, but thank you very much. Good job. I'll be supporting it.
All right, Councillor Klopp.
Thank you. Since you put it in the report, it says they need to be outfitted with back racks and full light packages, et cetera. And I think I heard we're replacing truck for truck. Will we not be taking those packages off those trucks and putting it on these trucks?
Go ahead, Imran.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Through you, we will not. We sell the trucks through GovDeals, and other municipalities pick them up, and it just sells as a one package. And it's not something I've explored, but I don't think there would be any cost efficiencies in terms of taking the amount of work that would take to take everything off and put it back on, plus the age and wear and tear on those. It's beneficial to just get all this stuff.
Including the radios, we sell them with the trucks too. Is that right then? I gather you take the trucks, except that's a fairly good argument. I get that as far as you answered the question, but even the radios, we sell the radios when we sell the trucks too.
I believe currently we do. It is something I'd like to verify with my road superintendent. There is a possibility we use some of those. I apologize, I don't have the confirmed answer for that.
You kind of open it up when you edit in the report, which is fine. I like a report that has more detail rather than less.
That's something Imran will look into. Thank you. Oh, you have a comment again? Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, what I can do, there's definitely probably some items that we take out of the truck that can be reused. I can confirm and bring it back at the next meeting as to what those items are.
Thank you, Enron from the department. No, I'm just glad you do make a note of that to people, because maybe some of us would get someone say, hey, I saw one of the trucks sold it and had everything on it. And I can say, well, yeah, we asked the question and it was answered. I don't need to have anything more unless other councillors want.
All right. Councillor McLeod, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to Imran, and this might be a small question, but do we remove the Huron County decals from them trucks? Because it's always a bad taste. I remember seeing one time on TV about some township's truck was involved in something else. They had sold it and it was on TV and it wasn't their truck at all. Somebody else had bought it. So it was just a concern. Thank you.
Imran.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Warden. We definitely remove those, and we would not permit another municipality to use a truck that says Huron County on it. So, yeah.
All right. Someone prepared to put a motion forward. Past Warden McNeil would do that. Councillor Noel would second that. Those in favor? And that is carried. 2 cargo vans. And again, Imran is here for questions on this report. Councillor Heffer.
Thank you. See on here, this is probably to Treasurer Bloomhog, and I'm just curious why you and has already mentioned why you don't take the you take the lowest bid. I understand that, but when one place is right in our backyard, not up 2 counties above us, I'm just curious for full disclosure. I'm just sending that to Mr. Blumhagen if he'd be able to clarify why.
So would you address that, Michael, please?
Thank you, Warden. Yeah, it's always a question that that does come up just in terms of the supporting the local business and whatnot. But when it comes to municipal procurement and whatnot, we generally are not permitted to incorporate local preference into our procurement bylaws when it comes to the formal tendering process. So within our procurement policy, we do not, we have a provision in our procurement policy that does not permit local preference in our policies. That being said, there's different thresholds of our procurement where we can do that. Like when certain dollar thresholds, we can just get a couple informal quotes and we can really just go with the best value for the county. But once you get into the formal tender processes, which these are, so these formal procurement, that's where, we actually, we have a contractual duty of fairness to the vendors or to the bidders for that. So this is where we're essentially entering into, once we release that tender and we have respondents and bidders to that, we're actually entering into contractual duties of fairness at that point in time. And that's where, as a municipality, we're obliged to conduct open and transparent and a fair procurement process. And really, we're just held to a higher standard for our procurement as municipal government as compared to just private business. So, there's a lot of rules that are involved in procurement. Once you get into the tenders, we've got different trade agreements, and really, we could be quite easily challenged if we do not select the lowest compliant bidder. We open ourselves up for legal challenge, and we would not have a lot of support or defense for that particular challenge if we just arbitrarily went with the local bidder. And really, to the point that was, or the question that was asked for the previous report, encouraging bidders. If we just end up selecting the local bid, that's really going to restrict anybody from outside of the region to bid on these tenders, and it really just we want to encourage our local or any company to really sharpen their pencils and provide us with the best possible bid for the county. So we as staff will always recommend the lowest compliant bid. That is the policy that we have in place. And really, it's up to council to decide whether or not you support staff's recommendation. So,
follow up, Councillor Heffer?
No, I thank you for your report. Thanks.
All right. Councillor Finch and then Councillor Goderich.
Yeah, great explanation, Mr. Blumhagen. Geographical discrimination would be a challenge, of course, and we don't want to enter into that. We only have a couple bids on this one. So the challenge is if we choose someone local, the other person may never bid again in Huron County, then that creates even more problems for the future councils. We'd be basically shooting ourselves in the foot. So we want to make sure we're fair and equitable to everyone because it is municipal dollars. My comments. Thank you.
Councillor Goderich.
Thank you, Warden. When it comes to our warranty work, does our local dealers perform this work, or do we end up going to, on this case, Blue Mountain Chrysler to get the warranty work done? How does that work? Thank you.
All right. Is that an Imran question, maybe?
Thank you, Mr. Warden, through you. Again, I can check with my road superintendent, but if it's warranty work, if it's under warranty, it would go to the dealership. I'm not sure specifically if it goes to the dealership that we purchased from. I believe the warranties are universal, so they can go to any of the dealership with the same manufacturer. And if it's out of warranty, then we would perform it in-house.
Councillor Vanstone.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. That was my question, is that if it's going to cost us money to run back and forth for warranty, then we haven't saved anything. So, but I would like a follow-up as to if we do, I know dealerships are dealerships but I know they don't like dealing with somebody else's materials and vehicles. So could we have a follow-up on that, please?
Mr. Warren, through you, I just received a message and the local dealership can perform the work under warranty.
Okay, thank you for that, Imran. All right, Councillor Klopp.
And I know we've had this discussion before, so that I want to bring this up for maybe a thought down the road. Council can decide or how to process, but Blue Water, we did have a situation, something like this. And it was in four-wheel vehicles, not trucks, but it did, we did as council, we put in, as part of the process, a count like we do in a lot of your other projects. You have numbers. It isn't just straight lowest. It's a point system. So we did put in a bit of a point system, which obviously follows the rules because if you know Mr. Kester, he follows the rules. But it does then, all the bidders do know that they may not get, it isn't just the money. It's maybe something that if council wants to think about doing, we could look into that because this has come up and I know we've went all darn, but then we really didn't change any of the formula as pointed out. So I throw that idea out today.
Pastor Warren McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. It's not the first time this discussion's come up. And it's great that people want to support local. If you want to make a change the bylaw, but then all the bidders are going to know ahead of time. And they're going to bid appropriately. And if you're giving favoritism to local, it's going back to what George said, is that you're not going to get anybody else bidding on it. Our job is to get the best price for the ratepayers of Huron County. And that's exactly what we did. And I've heard the question about the warranty thing before. It's come up and it's been answered. And yes, we can always take it to a local dealership. If you buy a Chev pickup truck, every Chev dealership out there is happy to do the warranty work because they get paid well for the warranty work that they do. And so taking it someplace local is absolutely not a problem. Debating an individual purchase like this is not the thing to do. If you want to relook at the purchasing procedure bylaw, then that's what we should be looking at and not discussing the purchases every time one of them comes up. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to round this up. Any further comments? If not, I'm looking for a suggestion for motion. Councillor Finch would put forward the motion that's in our package. And Councillor Vanstone would second that. Those in favor? And that is carried. We're looking at the replacement of 2 culverts, and Will Williams is available for questions on this report. Any questions for Will? Seeing none, then I'd be looking for someone to put forward the motion. Councillor Klopp. Second by Councillor Finch. Those in favor? That is carried. Engineering services and pavement design for County Road 12. And also some work on County Road 17. And Wyatt Carey is available for questions if there's any questions on this. If there's no questions, I'd be looking for a mover and a seconder. So Councillor McClellan, seconded by Councillor Finch. Those in favor? That is carried. Economic development. We have Rick Sickinger with us, and Rick is here to present some interesting handout materials we've had. And Rick, when you're ready, you go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, members of council and senior management team. I'm here to give an update on tourism on Ontario's West Coast for 2025. And I guess I'll start by saying, even though I'm the one speaking to you this morning, tourism in Huron County is a double sport. And I would just point out Alicia Anderson in the back there, who is my team partner when we play tourism on Ontario's West Coast. So we can share the credit and the blame, if there is any. So I always like to start with who's coming to Huron County and how many people are coming to Huron County on an annual basis. So Ipsos did a report for us in 2023 based on 2022 visitor numbers. And they found at that time that we had 1.2 million visitors visit Huron County in 2022 and had a direct economic impact of around $118 million. For context for council, 2019 numbers, because everybody likes to compare pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, have we recovered? Our 2019 visitor numbers were around 975. So we actually went up over the pandemic years, and these have not gone down at all since 2022 at all. We don't have quantifiable data, but according to all of our operators, they are still seeing similar visitor numbers as over in 2023 and 2024 as we saw in 2022. So numbers are higher than pre-pandemic numbers. Pretty even spread across age demographics. We tend to think of our audience as being older, not necessarily true. It skews a bit older, but it's pretty balanced actually on the whole. And a mid to upper class household income, with 60% of our visitors having an income of more than $75,000 per year. And in 2022, our visitors were coming, about 45% were coming from Southwestern Ontario, no surprise there. And about 41% were coming from the Greater Toronto area. And we'll see as I go through my report that that number of 41% from the GTA has actually increased over the last 2 or 3 years as well. So about 55% of our visitors are day visitors or excursionists. They spend about 7 hours in Huron County. But the good news is they make multiple trips per year. They come 2 to 3 times a year doing that day trip, and we'll assume it's to the beach. Could be a winery or brewery, but let's say it's the beach. About 44%, so less, are overnight visitors, staying an average of 2 nights, but not making repeat trips. They are usually coming once per year for a weekend getaway, and that's when all we see them for. The heat map shows where the location of our location of our visitors in 2024. Our top 3 urban area visitors are coming from London, Toronto, and Kitchener. I won't really spend any time on this slide because we've already talked about, how long they come. So this Huron County Taste Trails, you have a very draft guide that I handed out this morning. It's only a prototype. I want to say that. Sometimes I'm showing how the sausage is made. I don't know about the wisdom of that. But I have, because sometimes it's easier to just show and tell rather than explain. So this is our new product development that we're launching in 2025, thanks to funding from FedDev's Tourism Growth Program. We began working with the Foodie Group, who have done similar work with other municipalities and regional tourism organizations almost a year ago to identify agritourism assets in Huron County and develop a series of different self-guided taste trails. As part of our prep work for the Taste Trails, we've run 4 workshops with members of the agritourism sector to help them to become more market ready and meet consumer demand. we've also been able to provide some small grants to our agritourism businesses, thanks to funding from Regional Tourism Organization 4, to do things like signage, put in new shelving, again, to ensure that they're ready to meet the consumers' expectations. Along the way with this project over the last year, we heard from a lot of people that there was a need for a local food map, like one that used to be done for Perth Huron. I think it was called the Farm to Table map. I haven't seen it in about 12 years. So we did a bit of a project pivot to identify as many local food and beverage producers, growers, farmers in Huron County as we could. So the result is the Field to Fork map, which you have a draft copy of. It's a beautiful map here. Thank you to GIS and Brent LaRue in particular for helping with this map. The Field to Fork map, which so one of our challenges in doing this work was getting confirmation from all of these local food and beverage producers to confirm their participation. So we had a great big list of everybody. We crowdsourced. We went to every partner municipality. We went everywhere we could to try and find out who's out there. Farm stands are really hard to find sometimes. So one of the caveats to this map that's unsimilar to the previous one is that a lot of the places on the old Perth Huron map used to say by appointment or chance. So to be included in our map, because it is still a bit of a visitor project, you had to have some kind of online presence. I could look you up, and whether that was a Facebook page or whatever that was, I could find you, I could contact you, you had regular hours. Was our caveat. So you'll see, if you look through this and you go, why isn't so-and-so on there? It's probably because they didn't have that extra thing that we don't want to just send our visitors to, like, you know, go down that concession, pull in the lane, honk your horn. That's pretty uncomfortable for a lot of our urban visitors to do that kind of thing. So you had to be somewhat market ready to be included in the map. So from this larger Field to Fork map, we pulled out some sites to create 4 different self-guided taste trails across Huron County. So you'll see there's a corresponding brochure that the map will be in once it's done. And on the back, there are 4 different themed taste trails. One is called Farm Fair, which focuses on agritourism, where you're going directly to the farm store to buy directly from the producer. One is called Going to Market, which is our farmers markets, but also our retail markets, like Maitland Market, Eat Local Huron, those that sell local exclusively in their retail place. So again, if you're coming for the weekend, you're probably not going to drive around the county to get all of your groceries. But if you still want to support local, you can go to the farmers market or one of those retail locations. One we're calling Homestead Harvest, which is those traditional farm stands at the end of farm lanes, if you just want to go for a little bit of a drive and cruise around the county. And then one is our pre-existing vine and ale trail that includes all of our wineries and breweries and cideries on it. From a tourism perspective, these 4 taste trails are what we'll be marketing in 2025. I really see the larger Field to Fork map being like our hiking guide, with just as many residents picking it up and having it in their glove compartment, hopefully. And then us very much focusing on, you know, the visitor who's here for a few days saying, like, here's 3 or 4 that you can go visit if this is your interest. So a little, you know, rather than 80 sites, this is a bit overwhelming for a visitor to, here's all the places, go. So the Taster Trails at Field to Fork map are supported by a print publication, went over that. We'll be launching the Taste Trails with an event with farm tours, somewhat similar to the farm crawls that Eat Local Huron has been doing the last few years, but like more of them on June 21st. So there'll be programming, activities, samples at, I think, about 8 different locations on June 21st. And then we're also doing another animation of the trails of the long weekend in August. and then again in late September, early October to coincide with harvest. Again, working with actual growers and producers, none of them are keen to sign up for a September tour because they're already telling us we're way too busy that time of year. It's great, but the realities of marrying tourism with agriculture have really struck home doing this project. And then we'll be supporting the promotion of the taste trails. The foodie group will be bringing food writers and travel writers throughout the summer to visit sites on the taste trail. We'll also be bringing in influencers throughout the summer season as well. And the focus will be getting those influencers and those writers to as many of these taste trail sites as we can, so that throughout the summer, we're keeping up a constant visibility and profile for the taste trails throughout the summer. So big focus on taste trails, agritourism for us in 2025. So switching now to digital marketing. Our main marketing tool is ontarioswestcoast.ca, which is our tourism website. We had just over 62,000 visits in 2024 and about 90 some odd thousand page views in 2024 to our website. The most popular pages on the site, no surprise here, beaches is #1. Bit of surprise in the second one, which is Maple Mania, which is our spring event working with the maple syrup producers. Wineries and breweries are third, and our events is the third one that people are looking at. In terms of our analytics of like who's looking at this website, 67% from Canada, 90% of the Canadian audience is from Ontario. Top places of origin are GTA, Goderich. So again, I think that's who's going to that events page, I hope. Hopefully not the beaches page. Kitchener and London. And then 30% are coming from the US, with the top states being Illinois, Washington, and Virginia, and surprisingly and weirdly not Michigan. I don't know how Meta gets its data. That's who we get our data. Doesn't make any sense to me, but. So next is our social media. We have about 13 followers on Facebook and a little under 4,000 on Instagram. In 2024, we posted almost daily. I want to say something like 310, 15 posts in 2024 on both platforms. 90% of our social media followers are from Canada. And again, where they're coming from is London, Goderich, Toronto, Mississauga, and Hamilton. So again, speaking to that GTHA area is importance to us now in terms of our visitor reach. So I mentioned briefly, we've been working with influencers for a couple of years now. We are working with thanks to some funding support again from Regional Tourism Organization 4, ourselves will be sponsoring 3 influencer trips. We've gone to like a Meta influencer thing, which means that they have more than 250,000 followers. In the past, we've worked with influencers around the 50,000 sort of followers, the more micro. We're doing more this year. Part of that is just your search results. So I don't know, you probably all notice when you search things on Google now, AI chimes in first, their AI bot. So the more people we have talking about Ontario's West Coast that is not us, the better that information AI will bring up. So part of our strategy in terms of optimization even now is to have other people talking about us in a way that we want them to talk about us. And so we're paying dearly to have some influencers do that throughout the summer. We will have one coming in late June, a second in early August, and again, one later in the fall. We've already booked 2 of them. Their itineraries are set, and they're heavy on visiting the Taste Trail sites, promoting agritourism this year as much as the beaches. Our events calendar. So one of our more popular pages. This is something we've been working on for the past couple of years. which has now surpassed our original hopes. It's an aggregate of events happening across Huron County. I think it pulls from about 5, maybe 6 of our lower tier municipalities' calendars. And then people can also submit their calendar online. In 2024, we had 2,840 calendar events. And we're way going to surpass that in 2025. And each one of those we have to look at and approve, correct? Alicia, a lot of work goes into this calendar. And a shout out here to Jacob Stevens and BTS, who makes the magic happen in the back end of having this calendar populate. I always say to people, if you're not looking at it, please do, because it's amazing. There's like pick any day of the year, and there you can find like 7, 8 things listed on that events calendar now. What's happening on Ontario's West Coast is our weekly e-newsletter. We have about 2,500 subscribers to that weekly e-newsletter. We do it weekly from May to December, and then we switch to monthly in the winter months from January to April. If you're not currently subscribing, please do, and you can do that on ontarioswestcoast.ca. Okay, moving now to our tourism collateral. So you all got handouts today. We're seeing a huge uptake in demand for printed material for our in-market visitors. I think there's a lot of app and digital fatigue out there that they'll do their research for the trip online, but once they get here, they're like, just give me the thing. Where can I pick it up? So we're doing a lot of print still. One of the things I'll talk about is some of the advertising we do is in the Globe and Mail just this past Friday. And even they did an article in their Explore Ontario section this year about the number of people looking for print material when they go on vacation. And they do actually, within the article, mention our printed collateral that you can get in Huron County. So the Ontario's West Coast Visitor Guide. After our website, the annual guide is kind of our largest marketing tool. The printed guide is distributed to accommodations and tourism operators around Huron County. It's also sent out to most of the Ontario travel centers across the province, as well as visitor centers within the region. In 2025, we built the guide around an agriculture and agritourism theme. So again, we knew what we were working on with the taste trails. So we wanted everything to talk to each other. And then those were distributed by our students last week before the long weekend. So they're out there in the world now. Our hiking guide is probably our most popular supplemental guide, especially for residents. It includes information and trail maps for 43 public trails across Huron County. We went through, so like these are updated on a 3-year cycle and printed on a 3-year cycle. We went through a 3-year supply in 2024 alone. So we had to reprint this year, which is a good thing because we found, every time you do print, right, the second it's printed, you're like, oh, there's the mistake. We found lots of edits we got to make between 2024 and 2025. So we printed what should be another 3-year supply this year. We'll see how far we get. Demand for those is really high. New this year is our Ontario's West Coast Camping and RV Guide. We worked on this last fall. We printed it this spring. So it features 15 local camping and RV parks. And we printed 1,000 copies this year. And so 15 is not a big number. I think most of you here will know that there's more campgrounds. These are specifically campgrounds where you can do short-term rentals, right? You're not there for the season, that they have a number of set spots where you can just pull in for a night or so with an RV or a tent. And I really love the river tubing at Auburn Riverside Retreat. I highly recommend it. I haven't done it, but it's like when we were there, I'm like, that's the coolest thing ever. Okay, paid media marketing. Most of our print marketing budget goes towards a full-page ad in the Globe and Mail's Experience Ontario Summer Edition, which came out last Friday, just in time for the long weekend. Along with the ad, and that's the ad there again, promoting our taste trails. There's a theme happening, as you can see, it all weaves together. Along with the ad, we get editorial coverage in some of the travel stories, as well as digital marketing throughout the summer. They do a number of digital ads for us through the Globe and Mail online over the summer months. Yeah, it's really good. And of course, we are heavily featured in a story about agritourism. They quote yours truly quite a number of times. And I don't think I embarrassed myself. I don't know. New for us in 2025 is also we did a full page ad for the taste trails in the Ontario Touring magazine by Edible Ontario, and it's got 20. They print 20,000 copies of that magazine. So again, you know, that magazine already promotes the wineries and breweries across the province, and then we've just like added with our ad to like explore the agritourism aspects of that as well. We also do some print advertising in the Blind Festival season brochure and house programming every year, but that's where the majority of our print goes. Okay, also new in 2024 is this Propulsa data, which is one of our significant changes. We used to really struggle with having accurate, up-to-date data on tourism. So who's coming, who's using what. Thanks to a partnership agreement with Regional Tourism 4 and all 4 of the counties that are part of the RTO, which is Perth, Huron, Waterloo, Wellington. Propulso is a Quebec-based ethical data intelligence provider. So what that means is they collect anonymous mobile data on an opt-in basis. They ping your cell phone. So wherever you are, they are pinging your cell phone and they are storing that information. So we can access that information for a fee. Money just came into my head. So if you're at the beach or you're at the trail, it's pinging your cell phone and it's telling us, it doesn't tell us who you are as an individual, but it does tell us where you come from, where you live, how much time you spent there, how fast you were moving or not, your household income. It tells you all kinds of things. The opt-in part is when you subscribe to whoever your telecom provider is and you do the agreement, you've agreed. You can turn off your geolocator, but like I say I'm happy that it's doing this because we get good data and it's so much easier than asking people to answer a survey or put a trail counter out there, which I think we tried once and it didn't go well. So trails, we've often thought they're an important asset to our tourism. A lot of people are coming to Huron County to experience the outdoors. We have 43 public trails. None of us knew how many people were actually on those trails. So we looked at the G2G over the summer months of 2024. So we just looked from June 20th to September 20th, just a very brief period, and only the Huron section, not the whole G2G. And during that 3-month period, they had approximately 7,800 visitors. When you count in repeat visitors, there was 21,000 trail visits in that 3-month period. Excuse me. Looking at the donut graph, it's almost a 50-50 split among residents and visitors that are using the G2G trail. And of interest to us especially is that 25% of those G2G trail users are traveling more than 100 kilometers to use the trail. So that's significant. We also looked at 4 of the Bayfield River Valley trails and found that they had an accumulated 11, just short of 12,000 trail users in 2024. So for the Bayfield trails, we did the whole year. They guessed they had 3,000 people using their trails a year. It's more like 12,000. So it's really welcome news for them. And just recently I did the South Huron Trail, so both the McNaughton and the Morrison Dam trails. And they had 21,000 unique visitors in 2024, which accounted for over 90,000 visits to those two trails in 2024. So this data is like supports what we know, that these trails are an important asset for both visitors and residents, right? They are getting lots of use. We can prove it. The other area that we looked at in 2024 with this data is events. And so especially ungated events, community events where there's no gate or admission charge. How many people? I know I worked with the Multicultural Festival years, and we would just kind of like, I don't know, it looked like a couple thousand, but people come and go. So having to be able to do this has been really eye-opening for the events as well. In 2024, the Salt and Harvest Festival in Goderich, held over Labor Day weekend, drew 16,000 visitors over the 3-day event, and about 64% of those were local, which makes sense for a community event, and about 36% were visitors. It's difficult because their event was largely in the square and the park and along the beach. And so you can kind of go like, there was probably a lot of people coming already, but whether, you came for the day not knowing their event, you'd still walk into that event and it would animate the space. So 16,000, amazing number. Even if you give the festival half that as the credit, it's still a significant event. The most amazing one, though, was Christmas in Bayfield. I think most of you know it's an annual event held in November, 3 days over a weekend. They had a staggering 20,000 visitors come to Bayfield over that 3-day event in November. Again, the chamber, the Bayfield and Area Chamber of Commerce, thought that they were having about 3,000 to 4,000 come every year. And they were quite happy about that number. They were blown away by the 20,000 visitors. And so, we hear anecdotally like Bayfield was packed that weekend, right? And yes, it was, because that little village had 20,000 people crammed in there over 3 days. So it's just amazing stuff to be able to confirm and know now. And with the Christmas in Bayfield, again, 20% of those visitors to Bayfield traveled over 100 kilometers to attend. So a significant tourism event that, again, I'll say for us, wasn't especially on our radar. We were mostly looking at summer events as our significant tourism draws, but we were wrong. We also looked at our beaches because we're starting to hear that, crowding on the beaches at certain times and dates can be an issue. So we were like, okay, how many people are going to the beach? Let's see if we can find out. So we looked at 5 beaches only. We looked at Port Blake in the south, Bayfield, Goderich, Port Albert, and Ashfield Park. And we looked at them from just June 1st to September 30th of this year to gauge how busy they were. Those 5 beaches combined had a total visitation of about 250,000 people over the summer months. So they are very busy. And this only counts people who have a cell phone, right? So Propulso also says like it's low. So if you're a family of 4 and, the parents each have a cell phone, but the kids don't, it's not even like it's low, right? So it's high, but it's the low end of the high. If you read the donut graph again, 60% of those beach users were tourists and about 40% were local. And on average, people made 3 visits to the beach over those summer months. So again, a lot of repeat visitors, and they're coming about 3 weeks apart. Again, we all live here. It's not surprising to us that those beaches are a big draw and that people are making multiple day trips to the beaches. We like them to do that. In terms of destination development, we worked with Regional Tourism Organization 4 and a consultant, Bannekin, on a series of projects in 2024. One of them was a Bayfield resident sentiment survey. So the survey was on how residents feel about tourism in their community. I haven't seen the specific results from Bayfield yet. I just know that 255 responses were received from residents at Bayfield, which I think is about 1,000 people in Bayfield. So we got about 25% of residents actually responding to the survey. So that's, I think the consultant said that's a 95% accuracy rate. So we should have really good information from that. The similar survey was done in Stratford and Elora Fergus. And it's just to try and give us a gauge if people were feeling like tourism was starting to become an issue in their community, and also how they were feeling about hosting and welcoming people to the community. And some of the questions asked as well, like, you know, do you want more events in shoulder season or do you not? One of the things that we sort of got a sense of, and that not surprisingly, is people are happy to have shoulder events to a point in these heavily tourism, but there's also a lot to be said to like going quiet for a few months and residents getting their town back for a few months. So it's giving good direction to us about how much shoulder season to program versus, you know, I don't think anybody wants to live in a 24/7 tourism destination. We also did some work on Indigenous tourism, working with Indigenous Tourism Ontario. Right now, there is no known Indigenous tourism operator in Huron County. I think they found 2 in all of RTO4's 4 counties. So they're looking, the work that the consultant was doing was looking like how we can support the growth of more Indigenous tourism in our region. Alicia and I attended a session at Six Nations on the Grand River yesterday with Indigenous Tourism Ontario for the day to talk to already like early income outcomes from that work on how we can work together to support the development of more Indigenous tourism. We know visitors are looking for it. We're not able to offer it yet, and it's something we would like to do. And then we also did an Access Now Map mission in 2024 with RTO4. Access Now Map is a crowdsourced platform that maps and reviews the accessibility of various locations worldwide. The Map Mission project was to get more Huron County businesses onto the map platform, and we know that happened. I think we got like close to 1,000 or so in Huron County up on that Access Now Map in 2024. So still waiting for some of the studies and results from the work that we've been doing with RTO4, but those will be things we'll be considering in the future. So another project we've been working on is on sustainable tourism. And it's a way we'll be using the findings from the RTO4 projects, but also the proposal data is to inform a sustainable tourism plan for Huron County to determine how we can better manage tourism development without causing damage to our natural assets that are so critical to our tourism success and quality of life. Derry Wallace, the county's climate change and energy specialist, and myself worked with 5 masters of environment sustainability students from Western University over the winter months. So we had 5 students doing a work project as for credit, working on a sustainable tourism plan for Huron County. The students delivered a pretty good draft. I think they should have gotten a very good mark at the end of April, at the end of term. Derry and I will be reviewing that and incorporating some of the data from Propulsa and RTO4 projects into that over the summer months with an eye to bringing a sustainable tourism plan to County Council at a future date. And I think with that, I'll stop and I'm happy to answer any questions council may have.
Well, thank you, Rick. And if anybody wasn't sure how big a deal tourism was in Huron County, you definitely know now. So questions, comments, Councillor Lobb.
Rick, it's a really great report and I'm delighted to see print coming back. But I have 3 questions on the data collection. And I'm pleased to see it. I'm not, trying to be negative with this, but I had some questions. From Bell Telephone, how do they find out what your average income is? I'll tell you what the 3 questions are and give you a minute to come up with answers. One was the income, how they would come up with that. The other is how do they determine the difference between local and tourist? And the third is just the numbers. I mean, I don't know whether you remember, but when you first started the multicultural festival, I was the volunteer who was assigned when it was gated to sit there with a clicker and count people. And I did, and I remember coming up with 1,800 the one particular year. But I also know that some of those people were counted 3 or 4 times. They came in, they went back out, they got a couple of kids, they came back again, they went out, they came back in and had dinner. So it skews that. So back to the income. Where do they come up with the income?
Through you, Warden. Yeah, 3 great questions, and I'll do my best, Councillor Lobb. I am not a statistician. Full declaration. The easy one to start with is, yes, we used to use clickers. We used dots one year. Like we put a dot sticker. So, where was I going with that? So going back and forth, this is where this is better data because it's only counting you once. And if you go back and forth, so like the trails, right? We know in South Huron there were 90,000 visits, but it was only 20,000 people making those 90,000 visits because they went back several times. So we have better data now, and it accounts for people going back and forth. Going to the question about how they attach household income to it. So I think, again, they are looking at the area code and the exchange number on the phone. So I think the data is always a bit skewed because we have a number of seasonal residents and their home phone number would be tracked as coming from away. But then we get into this weird splitting hairs thing, like, are you a seasonal resident or do you count as a visitor? And really for our purposes, it's just like, we know that's how many people are using the trail. We have a good guess of how many. So I think that they're using Census Canada data. I don't know this.
Would you go by your telephone exchange then?
Yes. Yeah. So that's how it's telling us where these people are coming from, is from their phone number. And then I think they just attach Census Canada data to StatsCan data to say, like, in that area code or that specific geographic area that person's coming from, this is the average household income. I don't know that. I could find out. I don't know how granular we can get with our data, but it tracks, it's following you, and it's telling you this information based on your cell phone number.
Past Warden McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Rick, I do appreciate both your energy and your knowledge when it comes to marketing here in county. 2 things that came to me was because of the political climate, a lot more Canadians are choosing not to go south of the border for vacations. Are we doing anything to try and market more of that, or are we hoping that those Canadians that want to stay in Canada are actually doing more research to find local locations? So that was the one question. And the other one was, when you talked about the number of people that come for a couple of nights to stay, is there any possibility that the reason we don't have more people stay overnight is just that there's a lack of accommodations in Huron County, or is that maybe not an issue at all?
Go ahead, Rick.
Okay, through you, Warden. So the first question, the crystal ball question, what will happen in 2025? Yes, we assume that more Canadians will be traveling local. We are watching the situation. We typically market, most of our marketing is with Ontario anyway, so we don't do a lot of international marketing. So, you know, we're pretty much at what we're doing already. It makes it easy for them to find us. And again, going back to, it's not totally similar to COVID, but it's not dissimilar as well. We saw our numbers go up during those years. So again, we are seen as a good day trip or weekend getaway. I think that may be an advantage for us in 2025 because as well as what's going on with our neighbor to the south, just economics. We're hearing more people say that they are going to do day trips instead of the big vacation, and they're going to do more short getaways. That favors us already again in terms of maybe not our accommodation providers. Don't want to hear that, but I think that, our wineries, breweries, restaurants, and our retail will do well based on if those things do happen in 2025. But as you know, it's very unpredictable out there right now. And so we're waiting and seeing. In terms of the number of our overnight visitors, there is a shortage of accommodations out there, especially in key summer months. Like I said, we booked an influencer for the second weekend in August that coincides with Celtic Festival, and we had a heck of a time finding somewhere to put that person. So at key times, it's something that we're certainly talking about within economic development, the need to support the development of more accommodation options within Huron County. I personally, with the Taste Trails, would like to see more on-farm stays being something that gets developed here.
All right. There's no more questions. I'd be looking for a motion. Councillor Finch, Councillor Noel would second that to receive Rick's report. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Rick, for that very detailed report. I am going to suggest that we take a 5-minute comfort break. It's 10:30 and we'll reconvene in 5 minutes. Thank you. Welcome back. We are now at item 13 on the agenda, and that's the Huron County lobbying strategy. And Aaron Samuel has put this forward for us for our consideration. And this is a result of our strategic planning days a little while ago. And we wanted to be more purposeful in the way that we did any lobbying or advocacy work. So it's narrowed down to 3 very specific reasons to go by. And one is to increase provincial funding for housing and homelessness. The second is to ensure equitable funding for rural communities. And the third is to end or reduce provincial downloading. So this is the strategy that came from those thoughts that we had those days. And in the terms of reference, the warden is to appoint the delegation team. And I'm a firm believer that smaller committees are much more effective. And I am going to give a recommendation, and that recommendation is to appoint the CAO, the warden, and 1 member of county council, which I would suggest as Councillor Goderich, to be on that delegation team. So with that, I'm going to open it up if there's any questions or comments regarding our strategy for lobbying that we had asked to come forward. And if there is nothing, then there is a recommended motion in our agenda to receive the report, to define those 3 priorities that I have mentioned, and to put the name of the councillor and staff in for that motion. So Councillor Vanstone will make that motion, seconded by Councillor McClellan. Those in favor? And that is carried. Our strategic priorities, and Megan is here to answer any questions on those strategic priorities. Councillor Harding. Yep, seconded by Councillor Heffer. Those in favor? That is carried. There's several items of correspondence. I'm going to ask if there's any specific item anybody wants to address on that list. And if there's not, then we'd be accepting that correspondence. That's Councillor Goderich, seconded by Councillor McClellan. Those in favor? And that is carried. Under new and unfinished business, we have the South Huron Official Plan 5-year review. And it's an amendment and it was deferred, and Victor is here to address that if there's. Go ahead, Victor, when you're ready.
Perfect. Thank you, and I'll be brief. We're bringing back the South Huron 5-year review of the official plan. This was previously seen by council at your April meeting. And at that time, you did approve the bulk of the official plan, but there was a deferral of a de-designation of a portion of the credit and settlement area. There were some concerns received from that property owner, and so council decided to refer that matter back to South Huron and allow some more time to work with that property owner and see if there could be a compromise reached. I'm happy to come back to you today. We do have a compromise that's been endorsed by South Huron Council. The property owner agrees that they're happy with this approach. And so the approach is to leave the settlement area designation intact, however, to mark a special policy area on the property addressing some access issues that need to be addressed. And so we are recommending that council approve the change as recommended by South Huron Council and staff.
Okay, thank you for that, Victor. Council, Councillor Finch.
Yeah, excellent job, Victor. South Huron Council was in favor of this, so I would recommend we approve this and move forward. Thank you.
All right.
If possible.
That sounded like a motion put forward to me, so I'd be looking for a seconder for that. Councillor Dietrich, those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, Victor. Is there any notice of motion today? Seeing none, there's no bylaws, there's no public session. So I'll just remind you of tomorrow's special session of council for the webinar on the strong mayor powers. And that will be virtual tomorrow morning. And you can make yourself aware of any other meetings that you're responsible for coming up. Who would like to confirm our actions for this morning? Councillor Becker, seconded by Past Warden McClellan. Those in favor? That is carried. And we are looking for adjournment. And that would be Councillor Dietrich and Councillor Heffer. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you for your attention to our details for this morning.